Our anthem for this Sunday is The Love of Christ. This anthem could best be described as a folk melody with a modern twist. The melody is simple and unadorned, along with the harmony. The text is a powerful testimony of our mission while on earth, to live the love of Christ. Make sure to take some time to read the text apart from the anthem. It's a wonderful text and will be a great encouragement and inspiration to our church family and guests. Now, moving onward to more mundane tasks, the musical notes. Form. This anthem is in typical song form with verses and a chorus. The specific form is verse 1, verse 2, chorus, verse 3, chorus, and then verse 4. Now, verse 4 is actually verse 3 repeated. It's the same text, but we'll call it verse 4 because it's still a little bit different. So we don't end the piece with the chorus, but rather verse 4. A bit unusual, but that's what makes things interesting. Deviating from expectations to do something different. And it works really nicely in this piece. Now, there are some variations we need to be aware of, and that is which people start when. Verse 1 is all women. Verse 2 starts with the men, and then women come in and join them. Chorus, everybody. Verse 3, women start and then add men. And then there's chorus 2, all voices. And then verse 4, women start and then men come in and join with the women. Okay? Another note, unison and harmony. There are some times when unison and harmony switch around. And the actual arranger made note of that. I've also underscored that, and that's more specifically for the men. You'll see I have written harmony under certain places where it kind of looks like the melody, but it's not. It's the harmony. So anyway, just be aware of when you're starting, okay, a verse, and when you come in, and when you're singing harmony versus the main melody or unison with everybody. Okay, phrasing and breathing. Breathing and phrasing are very clear. Almost all phrases are about 2 or 2.5 measures, followed by a breath. Let's look at verse 1. Verse 1, look at right here. If I could speak the love of Christ, my Lord and Master crucified, I'd testify his precious blood became a cleansing crimson flood. You can see, for the most part, it's like 2 measures or a little over 2 measures, and the breathing is clearly indicated. All right, so very easy. But there are a few tricky places I'd like to point out. Okay, I want you to avoid the tied eighth notes, okay? I've crossed out tied eighth notes in several places to make it easier to line up our cutoffs. And I've often done this when we used to meet in person. And can you believe I said that? When we used to meet in person? A sign of the times. Sorry I had to say that. But anyway, let me show you an example, okay? The top of page 2. Actually, the middle of page 2. You can see right there. In songs of praise, right there. I've crossed out that eighth note. So it would sound like this. How could I say in songs of praise, breathe, all Christ has done for me. Okay? So you cross out that eighth note right there. And that will help line up our voices. And like I said, I've done that in choir before. The other thing is this, the squiggly lines for singing through a phrase. And this is actually, I think, in the same place. This happens to be the chorus. You can see this little squiggly line I have, and I think you know that well. It means keep singing. It's a reminder, don't breathe there, but keep going. But should I sing for all my days the brightest melody? Okay, so when you see that squiggly line in the phrase, you keep singing through it. Okay, don't breathe there, and I will conduct you through that. All right, the next thing is the word days in that same passage. I found this a little awkward when I was learning the piece. this particular word right here. And I wrote the beats above there to remind you how long to sing. The word days seems to interrupt the natural rhythmic flow. Okay, so I just highlighted that a bit. And it sounds like this. But should I sing for all my days the brightest melody? Okay, and once again, I'll conduct you through that and give you a clear cutoff. Okay, dynamics. Generally speaking, there is a dynamic contrast between the verses and the chorus, and there is an overall increase in dynamic level, reaching forte with the second chorus and then tapering off after it. So there's a dynamic arc through the piece. All right. Specifically, dynamics are as follows. Verse 1, mezzo piano. Verse 2, mezzo forte. Chorus 1, mezzo forte. Then verse 3, we taper back down to mezzo piano. And then the second chorus, forte. And then, of course, we taper down after that on verse 4 and sing mezzo piano. Now, there are several places where there are crescendos and decrescendos, and normally crescendos are at the end of verses leading into the chorus, which makes sense, and then decrescendos leading back to the verse, which makes sense. I didn't want to circle everything because it makes sense, as I've been saying over and over again. But it would also litter up the page with lots of circles and kind of be distracting, okay? But I just want to bring that to your attention. There is one crescendo and decrescendo that stands out, and that's on page 2, measure 26 and 27. Let's look at that. I think the arranger wants to highlight a particular passage. You can see it right there. How could I say in songs of praise all Christ has done? So in that place right there, there's this swell. Okay, and you could think of that as a swell of emotion or something like that. See if you can make this particular passage stand out. All right? Video. In general, as I've been saying over and over again in other videos, your videos are looking great. Keep up the great work. If there's one area we could refine, and I mentioned this before, is framing yourselves better. There are times I'd like to zoom out a bit on how I crop each video. And if someone gives me a video like this, or something like that, that gives me less to work with. Okay? So try and frame it just like this. So I have the shoulders and the head, okay, and about 2.5 feet. Do your best. If you have any questions, you can call me. And if you need to review how to make a good video, remember the video recording instruction sheet that I made. I email that out sometimes, but it's also in the description box of the YouTube video. Remember, the description box is below the video. You click on this little arrow and it expands the box, and you'll see links to the sheet music and to the video recording instruction sheet. Okay? The last thing is this: invitation. Remember to invite people to participate with us. There are people out there that want to do this, and all they're waiting for is an invitation. They're just waiting to be asked. The worst that someone can say is no. And even then, you have reached out to someone with hospitality, and that person may tell someone else of that invitation, and the person who heard that invitation, they may be interested. And you could call this a ricochet invitation, where your invitation bounces off one person and lands on another one. I've also heard this term used for ricochet evangelism, when you're talking with one person and someone is overhearing and they get the message, even though your target person doesn't get it. Anyway, ricochet invitation. So try to make that a goal. Let's all try to make that a goal in January, is to invite someone. Okay? That's it. Enjoy recording The Love of Christ.
Each note would soar on eagle's wings to praise with angels as they sing the Savior of mankind. But should I sing for all my days the brightest melody, how could I say in song of praise all Christ has done for me? So I must live the love of Christ and go where Christ alone would go. I'll bear his cross and share his pain without the hope of worldly gain. No greater love I'll show. But should I sing for all my days the brightest melody, how could I say in songs of praise all Christ has done for me? So I must live the love of Christ and go where Christ alone would go. I'll bear his cross and share his pain